everybody, and it's Fridays with Flora, and I'm in the car because I just got back from the thrift store and I'm on a secret mission for Father's Day. So probably when you see this it will be past Father's Day, but I'm going to be hauling butt this week because I don't know if you can see this massive big metal plate that I found for $4.99, and then it was on sale, and I got these really cool mosaic beads and some plates I'm gonna crack because I'm gonna put together a mosaic brown trout for my husband. It's gonna look amazing. So this is gonna be the project this week, and so I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna do it. I kind of don't know how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna kind of wing it, but I'm gonna be using a lot of beads because brown trout, there's some really pretty spots along the fish's back. So to get that kind of spotting and speckling on the fish, I'm going to be using a lot of beads. So I guess this is going to be a tutorial on using really more beads with mosaics. So join me on this top secret mission this week. Shh. I even paid cash for all this so that my husband didn't know that I was at the thrift store. So anyway, thrifting is the best when it comes to upcycling crafts. So join me, let's have some fun. All right, so you're gonna have to forgive me and be a little patient with this video because I'm doing this as secretly as I can. So I'm going to be in odd places where the lighting might not be so great because it's kind of secret. And it won't be kind of consistent throughout the video, but at least you'll get a sense of how I'm going to achieve this. And like I said earlier, I'm gonna kind of figure this out as we go, but I know that this is kind of what I was looking for, and I was super excited when I found this giant metal decorative platter at the thrift shop because it's the right size. And basically I'm looking to do kind of a metal mosaic piece to go outside of our cottage. So, and this is going to be a brown trout, and if you know your fish, brown trout have they're really pretty, but they have like these black to brown to like oxbloody speckle tone dots that go from the top all the way down to here, and then there's yellows, oranges, and greens and oranges in the tail. It's a really decorative fish. So I was thinking, you know, it could be kind of jumping up through the water. We could do some water waves and possibly do the rest of this green as if, you know, it's in a forest or a river. The cool thing is with what I found, there's a lip to this. So I might do something really cool. It depends if I'm running out of time because this is kind of a suicide mission. But so here's our metal piece right here. And because we're working with metal, if you're used to my mosaic videos, you know that metal, you need a silicone adhesive, and I use liquid nails to do that. I also have, this is just a small amount of what I really have here. I have a lot of broken plates, but I'm going to be a little bit more delicate with this piece. I'm going to use a lot of broken glass for stained glass that a friend of mine gave me. There's buttons in here and beads. My friend just gave me some really beautiful broken extra glass pieces from her stained glass. And the great thing here is that there's a lot of yellow pieces and green. And then for the speckle tone back, we're going to be doing a lot of bead work. So first things first, you got all your pieces nearby. You got your silicone glue nearby. And because this is dark, I'm using a white pencil. Yep, and it should, so I can see my design, and I'm going to transfer my design on to this. But before I even do that, I've got some steel wool, and I'm going to scratch this up a little bit, and it's just going to help the silicone adhere better. Now I have a damp paper towel and I'm just going to wipe it down. Okay, let that air dry and then we're going to transfer our design over. This does not need to be neat because we're going to cover this up, so just get it lightly. Doesn't look too bad. This space is a little bit of a gaping hole, so I'll have to see once I put my greens in if maybe I can do something interesting with various shades to maybe add a little bit of rhythm here. I think the most notable markings on this fish are the spots up here. So I think I'm going to set those in first and then work around them. And they pretty much start at the back of the fish, the top of the fish. And to make those, I noticed on some images that they're giant, pretty much polka dots. So I grabbed these glass beads. Now if you're going to work with beads, you've got to work with either glass or plastic, nothing porous. And they go from like a dark black to browns and then gradually to some like ochre colors. And I found some other beads at the thrift store today that I'm going to use too. So I'm going to use silicone glue and I'm just going to start gluing them in. I'll get you a little closer so you can watch. I'm just going to keep putting glue down and putting the round beads. Noticing some of these have like a hole, which I don't really want facing up. One, I won't like the look of that, but two, water and ice can get in there. These are really large beads, so I'm going to start bringing in some of the smaller beads. So you can see here, we've brought in some different beads to get to some more of the ochres and even some buttons. So it's going from like large, and be very careful when you move the stuff around until, as you can see, those moved. But basically like large raised beads to a little bit more texture down along the bottom to the tail. But you know, brown trout, they go from oranges to a yellow edge and then to the deep sea greens. So some things to keep in mind here. You know, my friend gave me some stained glass cut, and this had a great circular edge, which with brown trout, they have a circular kind of edge to their tail before it starts going into the green. So in mosaics, you got to keep in mind that it's not just about the positive spaces, meaning the shapes of the mosaics, but also the negative spaces, because the grout, once you put in the grout, that grout's going to create a line or can create some dynamic elements and shape too. So you have to just remember that it's not just about the positive spaces, but the negative spaces too as you build out your mosaics. For instance, this is a fin and it's going outward like that. So I'm probably going to use some angular pieces to create some lines going that way in the grout to kind of help some of the fin definition. Also, you know, being careful to use certain edges to create an edge, right? So this had a circular, not a circular, but more like an arc to that piece. This had an arc to this piece to create the mouth. So looking for those little pieces as you break your mosaics or snip them to create your shapes. This is an important tool called a tile nipper, and you can see it almost looks like it's like a T-Rex or something. It's like little chompers. Basically, it breaks tiles. It's nice to also get a scorer if you have a particular shape that you're trying to create. That's what my friend uses for the glass. She scores it and then she either nips it or snaps it. Another important thing to do, these are safety goggles. When you're nipping and breaking anything, glass, tile, protect your eyes, because you never know where shards are going to fly. Now I'm just going to try and break this into some smaller pieces. Like so. Alright, we got far with the fish. I think the fish is done. I have to finish. No, actually I didn't. I made the dorsal fin back here a little shorter. So, as you can see here, I brought some string beads into this kind of empty area here. And what I do is, it's on a string. I put the glue down first. I find where the knot is and I cut it. And using the string, I don't take the beads off. I use the string to kind of help me guide the beads. And I'm just going to let these sit. And then when it's time to, I'll let it sit overnight. And then tomorrow I can take the string out. It'll just kind of slide right out. But these are really fun things to do when you've got really organic shapes. Or if you want to use writing, you want to write something. These are also beads that I've got back here as well, almost as drops of water. But the rest of this is going to be green. This is supposed to be reminiscent of splashy water. So I think I'm going to start putting in some of the blue for the water now, because the fish is done. All right, my husband actually left to meet a client, so I was able to get out of my dark workroom that didn't have great lighting, and I'm going to spend an hour in the kitchen. And you can see how far we've gotten. We're using a lot of like larger, more geometric pieces because I went really geometric with the waves. More designy, I suppose. So I've been using larger pieces to kind of create those graphical shapes. And also the nice larger shapes on the bottom kind of balance out all of the fine filigree that's in the fish. So now I'm going to be bringing in a lot of green here as if like the fish is jumping out of the water. And if you're on a river, there would be just a lot of trees here. So the problem is that he's green. So we need to kind of go from maybe almost a black, dark green to the light green so that we can separate out the fish from the green. Notice how in these smaller areas I'm using a toothpick to scoot in the glue. So let's edge out our fish first. So I'm continuing to add glue in areas, and the cool thing with these pieces that my friend gave me is that she had score cut a lot of arcs that I'm snipping the edges off and using to mimic my waves, which is really great. If you don't have that luxury, again, you get a glass scorer, score your shape, and then use a nipper to nip it off. Get things like this. So I grabbed pieces and put it there. Now, I've edged out my fish in like blacks and really dark blues and greens. Now, as I'm going to kind of work my way outward to the outer ring, I'm going to use a lot more of my lighter greens because that's what I've got. And I think it might be a nice separation from the fish. And they're more of like a cooler, mintier green. one thing to note, like once I finish this, I'm going to be moving it somewhere else. No matter where you're at with your mosaic, before you grout it, let it sit for 24 hours after your last session. It lets the silicone kind of cure up a little bit so that stuff doesn't move when you start putting the grout in, especially for some of these really small pieces, like this very detailed area that I'm working in right now with these beads. You don't want them moving around. All right, I'm gonna let this sit. It's looking pretty good. All right, we're outside and I've been thinking through this border, and I'm thinking I'm going to be breaking up these colors to kind of bring out the fish color. So this like olive green and some white, and keep it kind of basic, and maybe use some glass beads, you know, every few inches to kind of just bring in some of the blue. We're going to give that a shot. I think the simpler the better, because this is just so complex and pretty. All right, I'm on a sturdy surface. I'm actually in a driveway, and I've got, you can use a towel, a pillowcase. Pillowcases are great if you can put them in there, then it traps all the pieces. I don't have that today. I've got safety goggles on, and I got a hammer in. So like kind of aim for pieces you want smaller. These are nice pieces to use, but these need to get smaller. So kind of keep working like that. And always use safety goggles. Okay, so I'm going to, now that I've got the white laid in, I'm going to use these glass beads. I'm getting them at the dollar store or Walmart, in the floral section or craft section. And what's nice about these is that they're round and then they're flat, and you want to put the glue on the flat side, like so. All right, it's grouting time. This is a white grout, and it usually has a polymer. This is another brand I use a lot. If you've watched my other mosaic videos, polymer helps keep things water resistant. I eyeball how much I need, so we're going to be mosaicing my fish, my Father's Day fish thing, and my sister.
Oh, this is not the fish.
No, but my sister is also. If you watched my bird bath how-to video, mosaic how-to video, I showed her how to make one, and she's going to be grouting her piece as well today. What's great is if you make some grout and you have a lot of mosaic projects, get a lot of mosaic projects done at once. So, we also put it in a bin that you can toss away, you don't care about. This is my grouting bin. And we got water nearby. Okay, we're gonna add a little water, and you want just enough. So you got runny mashed potatoes. And I have an old mixing stick. We have runny mashed potatoes.
Yay, look.
Yeah,
delicious.
It's runny. Okay, so we let this sit for about 10 minutes. Kind of let the sand and everything just kind of set up. It's going to thicken a little bit.
Hold on, I'm just getting one more lump taken care of.
I'm going to count. I'm going to do 10 minutes.
Oh, I love that, Flora.
So yeah, this kind of detail work, what you want to do is like slap it on and use your hands to kind of
Jam it in there.
And I'll show you what to do here, because we are at 10 minutes with our grout. You can see it's kind of thickened up a little bit. You know it's good when you run something through it and it kind of stays, the track stays. Like using your hands is really, even though it's messier, using a trowel or like a palette knife or some of this raised stuff and the detail work, you're not going to trash it. It's
Right.
just a lot more gentle.
You know what else is good for this process? Something like this.
I think crafting is always good with an Italian spritz.
This is looking good.
Oh, good. Dad is occupying my husband.
Jeez.
Good. Won't keep coming over here wondering what we're doing.
So funny.
I'm telling you, doing a Father's Day present on the sly is not easy. So yep, you're going to have like this big bucket of water nearby and these cheapo sponges I got at the dollar store, and you're just gonna keep wiping off the grout.
Oh my God, people do this for a living?
Yeah.
Oh, God bless them. This is why you will never see me doing my own tile.
And just be really careful on those, you know, the more delicate stuff. All right, I'm gonna do mine. So yeah, just keep wiping off the grout and being really careful with your details. Don't be aggressive with your detail stuff. Be gentle. Now squeeze this out. Keep going. It's okay if you have like just a fine film of grout, because we'll end up brushing it off and getting some cheesecloth or just a damp towel to buff everything out. So don't panic if it's not perfectly clean. It will get there. Okay, so this is after it's been sponged down with water. And now we let our piece sit for an hour, if not 2. It's pretty hot out, so I think an hour is going to be fine. You kind of want the grout to set up so that we can brush this with a very gentle brush and get that fine layer of grout and sand off of our tiles. And then we're going to buff it. Then we're going to wrap it and hopefully surprise my husband tomorrow for Father's Day. Using a plastic brush, just kind of brush off the grout. And then once that's done, you get a damp washcloth or cheesecloth and buff like that. And then you buff out your pieces. There we are. Thanks for watching on Fridays with Flora, and join me next Friday for our next adventure. Bye.